Good morning, everyone. I think it's a nice and uh, sunny Monday morning for all of us in here, Delhi. And we are very much excited today because the topic of this discussion today is very interesting. We have seen in our clinics, in our network of doctors, that people are getting benefited a lot with the local applications of hemp and cannabis. We have hemp seed oil, we have cannabis leaf extract oil, and several other form as well. In India, predominantly, we are focused on seed and leaves. So myself, Vaidya Piyush Ineja, founder Indian Vedyas and hempvedyas.com, and we have today a very knowledgeable person for this session, Mr. Raghav Priyadarshini. He is the CEO and founder of Savikalpa Sciences, and an organization leading this medical cannabis domain with an exhaustive research-backed infrastructure and the way they are handling the all the aspects. I really congratulate and appreciate them because see, research and entire thing should be documented well first, and then we have to take it forward, and that is the need of our for entire Ayurveda, to be frank and honest. But yes, as far as the cannabis domain is concerned, Savikalpa Sciences are doing excellent whatever baby steps they have taken till now. So I again congratulate them, and I welcome Raghav to quickly introduce himself, and then we will go for the detailed discussion of the topic today. That is the benefit of the local application medicine with respect to medical cannabis and hemp. Over to you, Raghav. Thank you.
Dr. Juneja, thank you for the warm introduction and good morning to everybody who's listening in. By brief introduction, all I would like to add is that Savikalp Sciences was founded 3 years back almost, or at least the idea of Savikalp Sciences between the founder group was about 3 years old. And for us, the overriding mission really is to look at what the potential of traditional medicine, in particular Ayurveda, and how to realize form factors, formulations which are inspired by the extensive therapeutic knowledge that exists in our grunts, but create form factors, formulations that are also accessible to the population of the 21st century and form factors that are well understood and that can be followed in terms of dosage guidance in particular. The overarching mission for us is to actually focus, like Dr. Juneja, you said, on R&D to establish all of the preclinical and clinical protocols for Ayurvedic medicine in particular. And I'm saying Ayurvedic, but it is essentially a mixture of Ayurvedic medicine or Ayurvedic formulations, but with the rigor applied to, let us say, allopathic drug development. And we wish to, combine the two to create formulations which are Ayurvedic in their base, but that are effective and for which we have the entire suite of data so that clinicians, doctors, physicians, Vaidyas across the country and maybe in future potentially across the world can rely on that clinical data, can rely on that validation to really bring formulations that are effective and safe to their patients and to help with their healing and well-being. So that, in a nutshell, Dr. Saab, is how we started. That is our overriding mission, and we find in particular cannabis to be a substance, a plant that has a lot of unexplored therapeutic potential. And to differentiate, we are first and foremost focusing on the benefits, on the potential of this particular herb, this particular plant, but we are at the same time looking at what the entire multiplicity of the herbs and mineral pharmacopoeia that exists in our traditional medicine is, to create formulations that complement both the properties of cannabis as well as other synergistic herbs that can help in healing.
Right, great. I think that definitely open up an area of discussion today. First of all, as a clinician, as an Ayurveda doctor, we have seen there are so many local application oils and local application solutions are available, and we have been treating patients, and results are also there. But specifically, when I started using cannabis, as far as the leaf extract is concerned, there are hemp seed oil as well. Options are available, but hemp seed oil is for maybe you can say more on nutritional value. And yes, as far as the pain management is concerned, only very mild cases can be handled for a regular you can say application, but not in the acute cases. But for the leaf extract or the medicines or the external applications which are there having leaf extract, I think acute pain management is very much manageable. We have seen in the patients. However, we need to understand more, Raghav, today, and maybe as I think as you have, first of all, I need to have a clarification. We got this query In fact, in my clinic also, when I thought to have this, and but there is a query, and there is a, maybe you can say, some kind of a confusion as well. So maybe if you can elaborate on that, because I think you people have two SKUs. One is for migraine and one is for cramps. So if on one side we say that yes, cannabis is there, which is working on endocannabinoid system, and it can be helpful in any kind of pathology. So why then why? So my point is, why a single SKU cannot control migraine or cramp, or maybe you have added some additional herbs which is specifically for migraine and specifically for cramp, then definitely it will make sense. But otherwise, in general, if we talk, and just for our understanding, so what exactly your thought was there, and your company thought was there, and in general also, as you people are connected internationally as well, so why and how we need to take it forward in terms of the local application, and specifically when we are talking about abdominal cramps and we are talking about migraine, then there can be joint disorders as well. So how to take it forward, and what kind of understanding we need to develop on this?
Fair, Doc Saab. I would like to clarify. We have 3 SKUs currently in our suite of products, which are topical application products. And yes, the common base for all of them is a cannabis leaf extract. Cannabis leaf extract, like you eloquently said, does work on the endocannabinoid system, and in particular, the principal properties which are, probably most well recognized are its anti-inflammatory activity, or the anti-inflammatory activity of certain compounds, certain cannabinoids in the extract, and also the analgesic, which is the pain relieving properties. So at a very simple level, yes, the same product should work for various kinds of pain that we associate. However, we also know, both as individuals, as patients, and as doctors, that pain is a spectrum, and there are very many different kinds of pains. They have different triggers, they have different origins, and also therefore slightly differentiated management strategies to deal with the pain. So specifically to your query on the fact that we have these 2 topical roll-ons, one which targets migraine relief, which is a neurological condition, and the other which targets dysmenorrhea, in particular menstrual cramping, severe menstrual cramping in particular. The difference, like you said, Dr. Saab, is between some of the synergistic herbs that we have added to each. So for example, in the migraine oil, we have ingredients which target more the neurosensory activity, which has an extra de-stressing and calming effect through the, olfactory motor system effectively. So things like chamomile, things like rosemary, that also have neurological benefits. This also helps in reducing the intensity or the occurrence of migraine attacks. Whereas the cramp relief roll-on that we have, it has ingredients which are targeting more muscular spasm. So it is more the antispasmodic activity, and which leads to therefore the severity of, let's say, menstrual pain, menstrual cramps and pain thereof. So the that particular product, the cramp relief roll-on, has ingredients that therefore target that activity. And they also have a counter irritant, rubefacient effect, which helps in bringing out the muscle spasm relief, which is the intended outcome. So it is, in, like you said, the difference in the synergistic herbs that we are adding to the different formulations, in which the principal active or the base is the cannabis leaf extract, but we differentiate it in terms of some of these other ingredients so as to achieve a adjuvant or a more potentiated effect for that particular indication. Other ingredients that come to mind, for example, in a cramp relief, are clove oil extract, ginger extract. Again, these are things that help in faster absorption. So for topical application, when you want faster absorption, more immediate pain relief, these are the ingredients that help further potentiate the activity of the cannabis leaf extract. The third SKU, Dr. Saab, that we have is a joint pain, musculoskeletal joint pain relief product, and that is again intended for localized application. Localized application, in particular, we had in mind patients, osteoarthritis patients. We had the elderly, the nanis and dadis of the world in mind, who might suffer from some amount of discomfort in their joints, in particular their wrists, knees, hips, and therefore for regular localized application. And if you wish, we can also speak of why we think that local application is beneficial in treating some symptomologies of pain as opposed to oral medicine, if that is something of interest.
Yeah, sure. We need to understand that also. And as we have seen in our clinics and in our patients also, it is working very well. In fact, many times, sometimes, in fact, patients are also having that mindset that when we talk about hemp or cannabis, so they have this negativity in their mind. and we have used local application as a tool to start with and to gain a confidence, and then gradually they are or for the internal tinctures and tablets and capsules as well. So we have seen that in many patients. But yes, we like to understand, as far as our experience is concerned, from the day one it is working. So generally people when shift to ayurveda or to herbal solutions, they have that mindset that they are using chemical interventions or these kind of solutions where they are just applying and immediately they are getting the relief in the. Yeah, sorry. Actually, there was some disturbance. So I was saying that immediately they need to get the answer, and immediately they need to get the solution as far as the like any alternate is concerned. So that we need to understand as far as when we are replacing that with a herbal solution. So we'd like to have more understanding, Raghav, from your side as far as the international scenarios and what exactly people are getting the feedback of these external applications in Indian market as well.
Absolutely. Again, I think a very important point, Aksab, that yes, we are cognizant of the fact that there is a certain immediacy of effect that some of the allopathic formulations are able to provide. And therefore, it is important that any new products within the Ayurvedic or traditional medicine spectrum also that we bring to market also have some of those similar effects. Otherwise, generally, for most phyto plant-based medicine, which is modulatory in effect, we do advise patients that it will take some time for the benefits to be achieved, but also that they will be much more long lasting. So it is not just immediate symptomatic management, but without any, let us say, treatment of the underlying causes or triggers of a particular disease, a particular inflammation, which we might call a disease. So yes, I think it's a question of education, but also I think importantly to focus on the technology, to focus on what we in the pharmaceutical industry call the drug delivery technology, so as to ensure that there is a certain intended immediacy of effect also that even herbal phytoformulations can actually achieve, comparative to what exists in the allopathic formulation universe. Speaking specifically of topical applications, to our overarching point, we do find that, yes, one, it can be a means of accessing a particular pathy which might not be familiar to a lot of patients who may be thinking or learning about cannabis medicine application for the first time, and therefore it acts as a bridge. But more than that, in many chronic ailments, in many conditions in which patients have no option but because of the chronic severity of their disease, but to take medicines for a long period of time, especially for pain management. And again, pain can be on the spectrum of various different types, various different triggers. But we do find, and this is actually well recognized and well understood by both doctors and patients around the world, that long term ingestion of analgesic medicine, even if they are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, what we call NSAIDs, which are your standard, oftentimes over-the-counter medications, which are premised on salts like a paracetamol, which are premised on salts like an ibuprofen, and then you titrate upwards and you see that there are other interventions that are sometimes required if the pain relief required or the intensity of the pain is more significant. Then you might have steroidal applications. You also have topical applications in the form of, for example, diclofenac, which is another very, very common salt which is used in topical pain management. And obviously, you also have at the highest end of the spectrum the opioid pain management medicines. Now, all of these are very beneficial, but for certain restricted use cases. And what we find, not just in India, in fact, increasingly so in India, but also in many markets around the world, is that there is an over prescription of certain interventions, whether it is even NSAIDs or for that matter, opioid pain management medicines, which might not be indicated for long term consumption. And therefore, good physicians and good practitioners the world over, we find the feedback from them that for certain chronic conditions, now these could be rheumatological disorders, these could be things like osteoarthritis or lupus or multiple sclerosis. They could also be, conditions such as, for example, neurological conditions that present themselves as migraine, for example, pain attacks, that in these conditions, patients are almost forced to continue their oral medicine over a period of many, many years, if not decades. That leads to a certain toxicity, that leads to a certain, disintegration of your other bodily functions, because there is a stress on eliminating those salts after their activity from the body. So whether it is the liver, whether it is the kidney, whether it is the gastrointestinal system overall, whether it is a reduction or in the lining of your inner, let's say, epithelia, which leads to other gastrointestinal inflammations. So there are secondary conditions that present themselves when patients are taking medicines, chronic pain management medicine in particular, even if they are NSAIDs over a long period of time. And therefore, just from the safety and overall well-being or reduction of adverse effects points of view, topical application of pain management medicine, especially that which has a safety profile like cannabis does, which is almost unmatched in our experience compared to many other, not just chemical, but also herbal products for that matter, is very much the way forward in our view, because it helps you achieve the symptomatic pain relief without some of the adverse effects associated with otherwise uh, chronic disease management medicines. Dr. I believe you might be on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So I was saying that after this, there are a couple of more aspects which we need to discuss quickly. After then, we can proceed for the conclusion of today's talk. See, as far as on one side we understand and we know that these chemical solutions have their own issues and side effects as far as the long-term toxicity is concerned. We are aware and we have seen certain studies as far as long-term use of cannabis and like other related herbs. So if we specifically talk about cannabis, be it external application, be it internal application, ultimately end of the day, any herb also carries active alkaloids and all the ingredients are there. We know there are so many cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, and so many things are there in cannabis as well. So, what exactly you people ensure? I have two questions, in fact, and maybe you can accordingly answer that. First is whatever products you people have. So, what kind of toxicity or safety studies, or to ensure that whatever we are using are pretty safe, non-toxic, and people can use easily, be it external applications or internal tinctures also. That is one thing. Second is as far as cannabis is concerned. So although you people are, as far as India is concerned, a kind of a startup, but you people have some legacy and some US, Canada, and other backed team who are working for years, and maybe they have other people also. So what kind of long-term studies or what kind of long-term usage till now you people are able to identify or discover about cannabis, so we can say that yes, as compared to other chemical solutions, if somebody is using, say, maybe somebody is applying just oil for years, or somebody is using internal tinctures also for 5 years or 10 years, it is pretty safe, or it is um, as compared to the other chemical solutions. Are there any studies, or we can claim that as well?
Absolutely, Doctor. So again, to your point, yes, we do have partner networks, including clinic networks, especially in Canada and Australia. We do have a lot of guidance coming in from those partner networks in terms of dosage guidance and treatment options using cannabinoid medicine for various different indications. One of the important things for us to recognize, and this really is again, one of the laksh, I would like to say, of Savikalp Sciences in India in particular, is that the form factor used in most global markets administered to medical cannabis patients is actually flower, it is actually bud. So it is usually something that is either smoked or that is vaporized, but there is some form of, the drug delivery method, so to speak, is largely smoking or vaping. Now, while that does present medicinal benefits of the plant, of the raw, of the whole flower effectively, it is not a medical grade form factor. And we are cognizant that in India, for there to be widespread adoption, and where, for example, perhaps our acceptance of smoking as a drug delivery method is not as, let's say, common as it might be in some of these other countries, we are cognizant of the fact that you need to create medicines that can be taken by persons who have never smoked in their life, who are cannabis naive, and furthermore, medicines that can be administered in a clinical setting, that can be administered in a clinic, that can be administered in a hospital, or that can be taken by patients at home without the need for them having to smoke or vaporize the medicine itself. Therefore, the form factors that we are working on are those which are familiar to patients. And to further substantiate, because this is not a requirement in many markets where there is an alternative access regime to medical cannabis, where we are operating in India and the medicines we are bringing are very much within the regulatory spectrum of medicine. whether that is Ayush, whether that is CDSO, but they are within existing regulatory guidelines. Things which are required to be done, in particular, like you mentioned, safety studies. We have conducted acute safety studies on whole spectrum cannabis extract. As you would be aware, there is a standard LD50 kind of, um, uh, uh, test effectively, right? To study what the lethal dose equivalent of a particular medicine is. And, while I'm happy to also share the results, Dr. Saab, with you, and you can disseminate it to your physician doctor networks, but we have seen through these acute toxicity studies that the LD50 of cannabis is perhaps amongst the safest of all recorded extracts that we have, including some of the most commonly consumed foodstuffs as well that we have in our kitchen for that matter. So it was important for us to build even the basic science and data pertaining to this medicine so that there is confidence at the level of doctors in particular about the safety profile of cannabis leaf extract and cannabis leaf extract medicines in general. Um, the acute dose equivalent, which we conducted in an animal study model, would be the equivalent of perhaps a human consuming maybe 100 kilos of bhang equivalent for that matter, which is almost impossible, right? I mean, it is not almost impossible, it is entirely impossible, that there is no possibility for there to be ingestion of that quantity of cannabis in the first place. And even thereafter, if one were to presume that somebody was able to ingest that quantity, let us say, of an extract, and even an extract would be something like the equivalent of 3.5 kilos of cannabis extract, which I believe is impossible. Laddu bhi 3.5 kilo khana mushkil hai meri samajh mein, to for a medicinal extract 3.5 kilo khana shayad namumkin hi hoga. Therefore, even thereafter, there was no lethality presented in the animal, in the rat model, in the mouse model in which this particular safety study was done. All of the animals which underwent the study protocol survived the acute dosage which was administered and survived well without there being any other adverse effects noticed outside of some of them dozed off. That is it. So the rat slept for a period of time and then woke up, but that was the extent of the toxicity or the lethality presented in that study. Now, this is just one small example of a multiplicity of studies I think that is required to be done. While we understand in traditional Ayurveda that cannabis is classified, as you are aware, sir, as an upavish, it requires a certain shuddhikaran, it requires a certain purification, before which it does present certain toxicity. But after that purification process, it can actually be administered, it can be mixed with other herbs, and then, create formulations thereof. So I think that there is a classical understanding of the safety slash toxicity of the medicine. It is important for us to update that with the standards as presented by modern science, modern medicine, but to draw the same equivalence that also exists in our classical literature. So for us, it is an absolute mandate that we should do everything required to build equivalence of the therapeutic herbs that are recorded in our traditional systems of medicine.
Right, right. I think a pretty fair idea you have given on all the aspects, and we need to understand that yes, it's not that lethal or that kind of a harmful medicine or plant we are talking about. But yes, we need to deal on a bit sensitive like mode and a bit cautious mode when we are dealing with any medicine, be it external or internal. So that's why in India it is in Schedule E1, which is like mandatory for a registered medical practitioner to prescribe this, and patients and all the people should understand, although external applications patient can have directly and can like apply, that is fine, but still they can have a consultation or they can have a guidance whenever required, and specifically for internal they should go for a prescription. And means, see, prescription is not just a formality. Prescription means a doctor should get involved in the process, and they are very much aware about whatever is good for you. And one thing I want to right now mention, and then we can conclude the talk. See, in Ayurveda, Vatpit Kaph is the fundamental of any individual, and that is very scientific, by the way. So when we assess your Prakriti and when we understand, and in diseases also many times the Prakriti is getting imbalanced, and cannabis or bhang or vijaya is having their own properties as far as Ayurveda principles are concerned. So, for example, somebody having Pitta Prakriti will be have to take this herb, should be taking this herb with some Pitta pacifying medicines along with that, because it's an Ushnavirya, means in layman language it can increase a kind of heat sensation, or it can make you hyper as well, especially if you are a Pitta person. But Kapha person, it is in fact can be given in a high dose also, and it will not have that issue. So these are some fundamentals which we are following in Ayurveda, and a doctor will be the best person to judge and give you accordingly as per your Prakriti, as per your Vikriti, means disease, what kind of dosage. And in fact, in the Western world also, there is a very dynamic, you can say, calculation or a dynamic way of deciding a dose for a particular individual, be it the body weight, the age, the indications. There are so many parameters are there as far as the internal tinctures are concerned, or if you are using the extract medicine. For classical Ayurveda medicine, you can have the classical principles or fundamentals to prescribe. And for external application also, you can apply in whatever the area it is affected. For migraine, you can apply on that particular your head, scalp, and all. For cramps, abdominal, you can apply on your abdomen, and then on the joint pain aspect also you can apply. That is fine. But for that also, if you are having some other additional medicines in as a standoff care, so whatever the disease you will be suffering can give you a good solution as far as Ayurveda is concerned. So my request to all of you is, and especially the doctors who are right now listening to us, I can see several doctors are there. So please connect and let us know. In fact, I think Raghav and his organization Savikalpa would love to send you samples also to try and to see that definitely whether it is like affected or not as far as your patients are concerned, and then accordingly you can take it forward. They have special discounts and special offers for doctors as well to take it forward. So I think today we had a very good session as far as this external applications. I think this is one of the first session we have done in detail as far as the discussion on external applications are concerned. So I again thank and appreciate Raghav for his valuable time for this session today. And we are looking forward for having many more sessions with Savikalpa Sciences, with Raghav, with their international team. Let's bring them as well on our platform, so that the Indian fraternity and Indian practitioners should get some more like knowledge and information what is happening in the world, and accordingly we can the overall idea and the objective is to uplift this particular domain, that is medical cannabis and hemp. Any concluding remarks from your side, Raghav? I think we
Pleasure.
are also getting free samples query. So I request you can just drop down your email ID and your maybe mobile number. I think some Ayurvedic wellness clinic account is posting that. So you can definitely post your email ID or contact number, or otherwise, let me just.
I'm not sure, Doc. Somehow I can share that during this live session.
No, I have just posted our email ID, so you can just write us info@indianveggies.com. So please write us. Any doctor who wants to get the samples, please let us know. We will definitely connect you to Savikalpa Sciences, and accordingly you can take it forward. Raghav, your concluding remarks for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. Really appreciate this and look forward to participating in future such discussions as well, both on specific, let us say, products that we are bringing to market, but also overall just in terms of indications or therapeutic areas of interest and focus. Look forward to participating with Indian Vedyas and the universe of doctors that you're collating through this platform to take Ayurveda forward, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.